Apemantus.
I was directed hither. Men report thou dost affect my manners, and dost use them.
'Tis then because thou dost not keep a dog whom I would imitate. Consumption catch thee!
This is in thee a nature but infected. A poor unmanly melancholy sprung from change of fortune. Why this spade, this place, this slave-like habit, and these looks of care? Thy flatterers yet wear silk, drink wine, lie soft, hug their diseased perfumes, and have forgot that ever Timon was. Shame not these woods by putting on the cunning of a carper. Be thou a flatterer now, and seek to thrive by that which has undone thee. Hinge thy knee, and let his very breath, whom thou'lt observe, blow off thy cap. Praise his most vicious strain, and call it excellent. Thou wast told thus. Thou gavest thine ears, like tapsters that bade welcome to knaves and all approachers. 'Tis most just that thou turn rascal. Hadst thou wealth again, rascal should have it. Do not assume my likeness.
Were I like thee, I'd throw away myself.
Thou hast cast away thyself, being like thyself. A madman so long, now a fool. What think'st, that the bleak air, thy boisterous chamberlain, will put thy shirt on warm? Will these moss trees that have outlived the eagle page thy heels and skip when thou point'st out? Will the cold brook, candid with ice, caudle thy morning taste to cure thy o'er-night surfeit? Call the creatures whose naked natures live in all the spite of wreakful heaven, whose bare, unhoused trunks to the conflicting elements exposed answer mere nature. Bid them flatter thee. Oh, thou shalt find.
The fool of thee, depart.
I love thee better now than ere I did.
I hate thee worth.
Why?
Thou flatterest misery.
I flatter not, but say thou art a caitiff.
Why dost thou seek me out?
To vex thee.
Always a villain's office or a fool's. Dost please thyself in't?
Aye.
What a knave, too!
If thou didst put this sour cold habit on to castigate thy pride, 'twere well, but thou dost it enforcedly. Thou'dst courtier be again, wert thou not beggar. Willing misery outlives insert and pomp, is crowned before. The one is filling still, never complete. The other at high wish. Best state, contentless, hath a distracted and most wretched being. Worse than the worst, content. Thou shouldst desire to die, being miserable.
Not by his breath that is more miserable. Thou art a slave, whom fortune's tender arm with favour never clasped, but bred a dog. Hadst thou, like us, from our first swath, proceeded the sweet degrees that this brief world affords to such as may the passive drugs of it freely command, thou wouldst have plunged thyself in general riot, melted down thy youth in different beds of lust, and never learned the icy precepts of respect, but followed the sugared game before thee. But myself, who had the world as my confectionery, the mouths, the tongues, the eyes, and hearts of men at duty, more than I could frame employment, that numberless upon me stuck as leaves do on the oak, have, with one winter's brush, fell from their boughs, and left me open, bare, for every storm that blows. I, to bear this, that never knew but better, is some burden. Thy nature did commence in sufferance. Time hath made thee hardened. Why shouldst thou hate men? They never flattered thee. What hast thou given? If thou wilt curse, thy father, that poor rag, must be thy subject, who, in spite put stuff to some she-beggar, and compounded thee, poor rogue, hereditary. Hence, begone. If thou hadst not been born the worst of men, thou hadst been a knave and flatterer.
Art thou proud yet?
I that I am not thee.
I that I was no prodigal.
I that I am one now. Were all the wealth I have shut up in thee, I'd give thee leave to hang it. Get thee gone. That the whole life of Athens were in this, thus would I eat it.
Here, I will mend thy feast.
First mend my company, take away thy shirt.
So shall I mend mine own, by the lack of thine.
'Tis not well mended so, it is but botched. If not, I would it were.
What wouldst thou have to Athens?
Thee thither in a whirlwind, if thou wilt. Tell them there, I have gold. Look, so I have.
Here is no use for gold.
The best and truest, for here it sleeps, and does no hired harm.
Where liest a night's Timon?
Under that's above me. Where feedst thou a days, Apemantus?
Where my stomach finds meat, or rather where I eat it.
Would poison were obedient and knew my mind,
Where wouldst thou send it?
to sauce thy dishes.
The middle of humanity thou never knewest, but the extremity of both ends. When thou wast in thy guilt and thy perfume, they mocked thee for too much curiosity. In thy rags thou knowest none, but art despised for the contrary. There's a medlar for thee. Eat it.
On what I hate, I feed not.
Dost hate a medlar?
Aye, though it look like thee.
And thou'dst hated medlars sooner, thou shouldst have loved thyself better now. What man didst thou ever know unthrift that was beloved after his means?
Who, without those means thou talkst of, didst thou ever know, beloved?
Myself.
I understand thee. Thou hast some means to keep a dog.
What things in the world canst thou nearest compare to thy flatterers?
Women nearest, but men. Men are the things themselves. What wouldst thou do with the world, Apemantus, if it lay in thy power?
Give it the beasts to be rid of the men.
Wouldst thou have thyself fall in the confusion of men and remain a beast with the beasts?
Aye, Timon.
A beastly ambition which the gods grant thee to attain to. If thou wert the lion, the fox would beguile thee. If thou wert the lamb, the fox would eat thee. If thou wert the fox, the lion would suspect thee when peradventure thou wert accused by the ass. If thou wert the ass, thy dullness would torment thee, and still thou livedst but as a breakfast to the wolf. If thou wert the wolf, thy greediness would afflict thee, and oft thou shouldst hazard thy life for thy dinner. Wert thou the unicorn, pride and wrath would confound thee, and make thine own self the conquest of thy fury. Wert thou a bear, thou wouldst be killed by the horse. Wert thou a horse, thou wouldst be seized by the leopard. Wert thou a leopard, thou wert germain to the lion, and the spots of thy kindred were jurors on thy life. All thy safety were remotion, and thy defence absence. What beast couldst thou be that were not subject to a beast? And what a beast art thou already, that seest not thy loss in transformation?
If thou couldst please me with speaking to me, thou mightst have hit upon it here. The commonwealth of Athens is become a forest of beasts.
How has the ass broke the wall that thou art out of the city?
Yonder comes a poet and a painter. The plague of company light upon thee. I will fear to catch it and give way. When I know not what else to do, I'll see thee again.
When there is nothing living but thee, thou shalt be welcome. I had rather be a beggar's dog than Apemantus.
Thou art the cap of all the fools alive.
Would thou wert clean enough to spit upon.
Plague on thee, thou art too bad to curse.
All villains that do stand by thee are pure.
There is no leprosy but what thou speakst.
If I name thee, I'll beat thee, but I should infect my hands.
I would my tongue could rot them off.
Away, thou issue of a mangy dog, call Choler does kill me that thou art alive. I swoon to see thee.
Would thou wouldst burst!
Away, thou tedious rogue. I am sorry I shall lose a stone by thee.
Beast!
Slay!
Toad!
Rogue! Rogue! Rogue!